Hey guys, this is Red here from West Coast Paddle Sports, and today I get an opportunity to actually interview Sam Eastburn from SuP Pups, and we get a chance to learn a little bit about her today. And so we're just gonna get right into the interview. So good afternoon, Sam. How you doing today?
Hey, oh, awesome.
Right on, right on. So, you know, you've been in this business. I mean, you've been a paddler for how many years now?
So I grew up on the water.
Okay.
But paddleboarding, I got into it around 2013 when I moved here from Arizona.
Okay. So 2013. So, when you got into it, so is that when SuP Pup started, or when did SuP Pup start?
Kind of. So kind of tagged along later on, a little bit later on. I got a job when I moved here at San Diego Bay Adventures, and I was a jet ski tour guide and managed their company. And they had paddle boards, and so got on a paddle board. I was like, oh my gosh, because I grew up on a boat, so I was like, it's like your own mini boat. This is amazing. So they wanted to do lessons, so I got certified to become an instructor.
So where did you get certified by? Who certified you?
It was WPA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it was a 2-day course, kind of just learn the ins and outs, technique, safety, and then on my off day, I ended up taking Jack on my off day, and he loved it.
Really?
Like, he was like in his element, and I've always been obsessed with dogs my whole life, as well as just being on the water. So put 2 and 2 together, and SuP Pups came.
So I mean, like, it sounds like to me that it was just something that just organically happened. So in respects to, you know, obviously getting a chance to be on a paddleboard, getting Jack on there, what made you think to yourself, like, oh, you know what, I could do things, I could share this experience with other folks, right? And give them something that, you know, an opportunity that they could share with their fur baby or their pet or whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of tied into my degree. I got my bachelor's in tourism development and management. So I always knew I wanted to work with tourists and work in the tourism industry, but I knew I wanted to be on or near the water. And it kind of just, I don't know, I absolutely loved it. And for me, you want to do what you love in life, and if I can be on the water with Jack and then teach others and see the happiness in their life, like, it's just was the ultimate amazing feeling that I got.
Right on. What was it that at that point you realized, you know what, I could do this for myself, or I could do this, you know, just in general? I mean, I guess the question really is, when did that translate? When did that transcendence happen?
I've always had that mindset, like, oh my gosh, I could do this, cool, let's do that, and I'll keep doing all these different activities or jobs because I love to do a lot of things.
Right.
And I started to realize when it comes to tourists and motor boats, or it's kind of stressful. Like, you have a tourist who barely speaks English and doesn't know the area and takes out a jet ski, and I started to hone in and be like, well, no, what makes me more happy in this water industry, and that's paddleboarding.
Nice.
And I was at work, and this blonde guy drives up in a truck with his dog with a load of paddleboards in the back of his truck, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, where do you work? And he goes, the SuP Connection. It's right around the corner. I was like, what? He goes, yeah, we just do kayaks and paddleboards, which is exactly what I wanted to do.
Right.
So got in with the owners of the SuP Connection, now West Coast Paddle Sports, Todd and Jaton.
Right.
Talked to them, and it was kind of perfect timing because they were looking for a manager, which I already have management experience with the jet ski company.
Right.
So they kind of took me in under their wing, hired me as their manager, and I told them about the idea of SuP Pups. And at that time, it was a meetup. I made little flyers, put them at dog parks, and it wasn't like a legit business. It was just an idea of, okay, let's see what kind of traction I get. And they loved the idea of SuP Pups. So they're like, hey, you know, we'll work together on this. It'll be part of one of our programs that we offer, as well as you'll gain more experience managing, you know, really high kind of quality, you know, a lot of people come to the SuP Connection type of business.
Right.
So, and then 6 years later, I can't believe how much time has flown. I just now really want to hone in on what makes me happy, and that's SuP Pups. And so the beginning of 2020, I decided to branch off and make SuP Pups my own entity and see what I can do.
Right on. No, that's incredible. So for 6 years, learning the trade, figuring things out, and now finally striking it out on your own, and having SuP Pups entirely under your stewardship, so to speak, and management, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, what are the because of that, since you moved on, what challenges are you having to deal with? Or like, what are the things that, you know, moving from something to where it was just, you know, a meetup to an actual full-on business and a full-on way to, you know, pay the bills and you know, live your life?
Yeah, I mean, it was also a struggle because I did it right when the pandemic hit, but it also was kind of a blessing in disguise. I always like to look at, you know, the positive things of life. And, you know, I always kind of wore a lot of hats with all the businesses that I worked for, but now I'm wearing like every hat in the book, and it's, you know, but it's not scary. I mean, it is scary, but it's what I want to learn. Like, I wanted to learn how to do payroll, and I want to learn how to do the whole business side of everything. So it's scary, but it's also very rewarding because I know it will be in the long run. So it's, but it's still, I mean, there's every day you can be doing something every day to exceed and grow your business.
Right on, right on. Yeah. So talking about your business, let's get into the act of getting pups on the SuPs, right? So, you know, how do you connect with the owner, and more importantly with the pup? Because obviously owners and dogs and whatever pet, it's obviously different and unique. So isn't that a challenge? I mean, and if so, what is it that what are the things that you go through to identify, like, okay, I've got to, you know, this is this type of pet, this is this type of individual, and how do you make it so that they feel comfortable? And because obviously a lot of folks are doing this as brand new, how do you get them to really get into just being part of the water? Like that time when you fed, you know, Jack just jumped into it, but I'm sure not all dogs are like Jack.
Well, and when he started, he would see a bird, jump, swim, go after it.
Right.
Or when we first started, the Navy Dolphin Training Facility was right there in Liberty Station. So he saw a dolphin jump and he went right after it. And if I wasn't, you know, experienced, I had to get down, paddle, and go get him.
Right.
And so, I mean, when anyone shows up, you know, I don't really know. I mean, I don't know who they are. I don't know their dog. And so I kind of get a feel for it before we go out. I ask the person, like, hey, what's your paddleboard experience? Okay. What's your dog's water experience? How are they around the water? And instantly I can kind of see their personality.
Right.
I've been working with dogs in so many different breeds, personalities my whole career. So I kind of gain a good little feel for that. And then even just like how I can tell how the dog takes to the life vest. If they're skittish, then they might be skittish in other little areas. And then getting down to the water, and just kind of the first experience when I get a dog on a paddleboard, and then I get the human on first, then the dog, and I push them out and I'm right there next to them. In just the first 5 minutes, I can kind of tell how the lesson's going to go. And then I cater their lesson to fit their needs and how, you know, I mean, some people want their dog to have fun. It doesn't matter. So sure, yeah, I had someone bring a ball. We were playing fetch.
Right.
Or I had someone who was really adamant with their dog to sit pretty, look forward, not move.
Yeah.
And, you know, every dog's going to be different, but based off, you know, most dogs like to stand and they have better balance. So it's, you know, it's every lesson is different, but it also, I mean, it's a learning experience for me every time.
Wow. So it's like, it's not like going to having Groundhog Day. It's like a whole new experience every time you get a chance to work with a client and their pup. That's awesome, because you know, it's not your day-to-day run-of-the-mill kind of, okay, gotta make the donuts kind of thing every morning. But you know, when you get a chance, you don't know what to expect, and then that sounds like that's what makes it exciting for you, because in that process you get the chance to grow and learn and refine your business, and you're offering that much more. So that said, like, what were the smallest and largest dog that you've ever had to work with? Or maybe not even so a dog, but maybe pet even.
I mean, I've taken out a hedgehog before.
Right.
But smallest dog, I think it was like an 8-pound little Chihuahua.
Right.
And this thing was the runt of the litter, and it actually had a tumor in its head.
Oh, wow.
and it was adorable because it kind of, you didn't, you think a dog has to have good balance to paddleboard. This dog could barely even walk, and it just laid there and enjoyed the sunshine. It was awesome.
Nice.
So I've taken from a dog like 8 pounds all the way to a 200-pound Great Dane.
Wow.
Named Ludo. Dude was awesome. Which is probably my most, beneficial, very, the best paddleboard experience I've had with a dog. Because at first you think, oh no, there's no way you're going to get this dog to get on a board. And I'm like, well, what's going to happen? And the mom was awesome. So most Great Danes are very dopey, no, I don't want to do this.
Right.
And so I get the lady starting on her knees. And so I, try to help the dog. We try to get the dog on the board, and the dog's like, no, I'm not going. So I'm like, oh, so I ask, can I pick up your dog? She's like, yeah, sure. So I pick up the rear end of the dog because his front paws are already on, and I kind of get him onto the board, but he's so heavy that I ended up kind of on the nose of the board as well. So me and the dog are looking at the mother, and we ended up getting the dog to turn around to look at me. So then next thing I know, I try to get off, and the dog thinks he can get off. And we're like, no. So I ended up sitting on the nose of the board, pushing us off to the point we're in the middle of the bay, and I'm on the nose of the board taking a video and photos of this dog, and I had the woman to stand.
Wow.
So she's standing, the dog just chilling, and I'm at the nose of the board.
Wow.
It was amazing. Best time ever.
Have you ever had a dog just go to town on a SuP board before?
So in 7 years of SuP Pups, I have never had a dog physically attack the board. And I know it could probably happen. I've had a dog go to bite the leash and pull the leash back, or dogs kind of dig at the board but not full on bite. And there was one dog that showed up, and he just was so excited. I think he was just so excited.
Yeah.
He went off the board from the dad's board, went to the mom, and went after the board.
Right.
And literally thought it was either a toy, or he thought he wanted to save his mom.
Right.
And luckily with the boards we use, they're easy fixes.
Right.
And I'm not going to get mad at the owner, I'm not going to get mad at the dog, it just happens.
Right.
But, maybe that's where, if you want that dog to learn, we go buy a $50 cheapy foamy board that you don't care about, and maybe you can help the dog, or put that, if that happens with the dog, put that board around the dog a lot. Maybe put in the grass one day and have the dog walk around it, and have the owner, but it's, I've had dogs, this little Frenchie, the paddle went over, the dog's like, what is that? And he's like, trying to bite the paddle. But little Frenchies,
Right.
But I've learned, and that's where, every lesson is a learning experience. So now, there's more waivers attached to that to protect myself, as well as just kind of seeing how to handle that type of dog.
Right.
And, every dog is different, and they all have their own past, and you can't blame them on that, but it's that was my very first.
Right on.
Yeah.
So where do you see SuP Pups in the next few years?
So timing is everything. And it's funny because I know I've been doing this for a very long time, that it feels like 7 years to me is a long time, but this year, it being my own business, all under me, it feels like it's brand new. It feels like it's fresh. So I feel like I just started, and kind of just taking account of how this whole pandemic is going to happen, and how I can, keep teaching, expanding, but in a safe way. So in a few years, I hope to have, I will have more locations, hopefully expanding up the coast. I am from Arizona, and I think Arizona would be a good spot as well.
Oh, that's awesome. So expanding the business and just getting out there and just getting SuP Pups more accessible to those around the country, or at least for now, the West Coast.
Well, and then hopefully to have an online school where I do have this woman, she was in Switzerland, asked about it over Facebook, and it would be awesome to have a whole online program where I can't physically be there to train you, but you can learn everything that I know through an online easy program.
Wow. No, it sounds awesome, and it definitely seems that it has potential to really blowing up, right? It's just now finding the time and the resources to get it done, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So, last question. Sam, so obviously, you know, having a business, running this for 6 years, there's been ups and there's been downs. Can you recollect back when you were just like, you know, you're in the middle of the job, you're like, you know, I could just do this, you know, I don't know for a long, but I could just do this forever. Like, this is just, was there a moment where you saw a client or a pup or anything like that where you just saw someone lit up and it was just like a life-changing experience that made you just say, you know what, this is who I am, this is what I do?
Kind of like every time.
Every time.
Like, I mean, there's days where people are like, oh, I don't want to go to work, and you know, it's still work in a sense, but then I'll get to work and it's like I'm not working, you know, and it's every lesson, no matter how the lesson goes, if the dog, you know, doesn't jump in at all or the dog swims the whole time, the person leaves happy. And I'm there to capture all of it for you. So during your lesson included, I bring my phone, I take photos, I take videos, and I love that. And it's almost like a surprise because I don't say that in the beginning. I just start to do it and then I'm like, hey, let me just airdrop you everything.
Right.
They're like, what? And there's no extra charge, and it's, you know, and it's just seeing them light up. And then, you know, another thing I love to ask when people show up is, what's your dog's Instagram?
Right.
And either if they have an Instagram, then they post all the photos, or I think maybe about 5 times now, I ask, oh, does your dog have an Instagram? They say no, but oh, they should. Then that night, they make an Instagram for their dog.
Wow.
So it's kind of like, oh, wow, okay. So, because, you know, they're getting out and doing these experiences that most would not.
Right. Well, that's incredible, Sam. And it sounds like to me that, you know, you're in the service of providing joy for others. And, you know, that is a very commendable service, and you know, thank you for that, and also thank you for sharing your time today with us here at West Coast Battle Sports. And you know, really stoked to see how SuP Pups matures, and you know, as well as we continue to work together out there in the water and helping out folks out there enjoying the water and just enjoying the stoke. So thanks so much, Sam.
You're welcome.